Another day in the NBA, and today there's no NFL to distract us from our mission, as always, to find out some of the best plays in the NBA. And today that starts, as it always does, comparing my projections to some of the industry leaders out there, in particular, our friend Stokastic. Who are the guys that I have looking like the best plays overall? Who are the best values? We'll find that out here on today's 5-gamer. We're also going to dig into the sim world, see what Stokastic sim thinks without my interference at all, just their data to give you a read on what the field's going to play today. And by this video, you'll know all the must plays along with my splash plays for today's October 28th NBA slate. Let us get into it here. And shout out to all you guys hanging out. Hopefully it was a good day for you yesterday with the NFL and NBA crossover. The sports equinox continues on here every single day. I really feel like number one, the lineup I built, a single lineup sim, number one, that would have cashed you, and I think would have cashed you out pretty well. It was one of those weird slates, though, where all the splash plays I named, and it doesn't always happen this way for what it's worth. This is not me patting myself in the back too much. Everything I mentioned on the show hit, and yet despite that, it still wasn't a spot where I had enough to win because you needed a Nikola Vucevic, you needed a Lowry Markkanen in particular who went absolutely nuts. And that's sort of the push-pull of the NBA where you could really kind of get everything dialed in about as well as possible, especially for this part of the year. And you still don't really get fantastic results. Like, I made some money, not mad at it, but I just felt like it should have been more. Felt like lineup should have come together a little bit better, but it is what it is. Am I crazy for liking Drew Smith with possibly no Norman Powell? He was already projected for 17% ownership was Drew Smith with Norm Powell assumed in. So no, you are not crazy, but you're also thinking more chalkily than you might think. And shout out our guy Chunk here. Appreciate all you guys watching live. Another day, another bucket. We can only hope so. I'm going to do a little experiment here on stream for you guys because I think it's important to show how data works. And in fact, you know what? Let me do that as the first part of the video here. So Giannis Antetokounmpo right now looks like our top projected player in the slate. And I'm going to do something here where I'm going to change his rates to reflect just this year, and I'll do that for everybody in the NBA right now. Basically, now we're about 4 games in for pretty much every team. As a result, we have a decent sample size of data accruing, but one that greatly impacts a lot of players. So you can see the numbers that we have on screen right now. Right now, I'm doing a back-end change in my data sheet here, which I'm going to upload again to Google Sheets. What I did is basically just gave all these guys their rates, their usage rate, their rebound rate, their assist rate for 2025 or the 2025-2026 season that we are currently in right now. And you can see Giannis's projection goes up, SGA's goes down, LaMelo Ball's goes down, but that's for stupid reasons because Pat Connaughton, his numbers are broken because he's only played like a few minutes and he's had 50% usage rate, which Pat Connaughton most likely will not hold on to. But basically, this is what you're kind of running into this time of year. Tyrese Maxey takes a big jump up compared to where he would be when you're looking at the longer-term sample size. I'm just pointing this out because I think in general, what my data does, and frankly, I do it less than providers like Stokastic, like ETR do, what you're referencing generally is the longer-term performance of these guys. For me, it's per 100 possessions numbers. For those guys, they might do it differently. But basically, you're trying to capture like how these guys have played for years. So that's why you get, Joel Embiid, these sites projecting him so highly for the first couple weeks, and they realize, oh, maybe he's not the same player. The numbers start to come down. But it's a balance, and it's a challenge too. And I think it's one of the things at this time of year that is one of the hardest parts. Like a guy like Keyshawn George, if you go back with his data going back to last year, and he's a player that maybe not a lot of you are keeping a super close eye on, but he's a guy where, he's normally about a 17% usage rate, rebounds a little bit, assists a little bit, but not at a crazy amount like he's been. He's averaging over 1.3 fantasy points per minute this year. So what do you chase? Do you chase how he's playing this year, or do you assume that he comes back, at least closer to what he was normally? Those are the big questions in the NBA when you are playing data like this time of year. So I'm going to go back to the other version of the data here, the longer term sample size stuff. But that's really just one thing I want you guys to be aware of because it really impacts my data here and how I'm approaching things. And it's frankly, this time of year, a difficult thing to balance. But also, sometimes you will find outliers like Nikola Vucevic in the small sample size to start the year has played much better than he did last year. Lowry Markkanen, I think you can make the case that was his outlier game yesterday that he kind of hit a level he hasn't hit so far this year, but underlying numbers look better than they did previously. Those are things that you might want to weight more, and it's sort of hard to find what the balance of that is, of that longer term sample size versus what guys are showing us this year, which might be just who they are as players now. Speaking of guys just being who they are as players now, Giannis. So Giannis, again, this is a longer term sample size going back to last season. We're weighting today, this year's games a little bit more. In my data, basically 5x is what I'm counting each game for. So for Giannis, if he's played, I think he's played 3 or 4. If he's played 3 games, I'm giving him credit for those 3 games as 15 games in the sample size going back to last season. But what stands out with Giannis is that so far this year, he, much like Victor Wembanyama, who did come back down to earth yesterday, Giannis averaging over 2 fantasy points per minute, 2.06. And I mentioned, really as clearly as I could that Wembanyama, despite how good he is, despite the fact that we all want to play him, and the slate wanted to play him about 50% ownership yesterday, he was a guy that was overperforming even relative to how good he is. And he kind of came down to a more normal number, not producing over 2 fantasy points per minute. It's just impossible to do that. Jokic is one of the best fantasy players we've ever seen, and even he only gets to about 1.9, 1.8 in certain groupings where there's no Jamal Murray, no high usage players around him. For how Giannis looks, he is killing it. Like, he's taking a ton of possessions right now. He's got a 40% assist rate, usage rate of 36%. That means he's eating about 76% of those possessions right away. He's also rebounding at a 25% clip. His numbers are crazy high. So I think for Giannis, the main thing to keep in mind here is if you're going to follow how he's playing this year in this depleted Milwaukee team that's requiring him to do everything, Giannis will project a little bit better than the 56.2 I have, even a little bit better than the 57.9 that Stokastic has. But if you kind of defer to the longer term sample size, he comes down to a more reasonable play that will still be one of the best players on the slate, but maybe not as pronouncedly so, maybe not as much as people who are just kind of looking at box scores will think. So for Giannis, that's sort of the key takeaways here. He's at 18.5% expected ownership. I got him at 17. If I bump the projection up, he becomes like maybe a 33% play. So Giannis, I think if you're kind of looking at how he's played this year, 25 to 33% ownership seems fair. If you're expecting him to kind of level out to just being very good, but not, the best fantasy player ever, then he probably should be a little bit less owned than, a third of your lineups. Woke up early and grabbed those Embiid overs. Coach's talk sounds like an increased role tonight. I'm not trying to chase Joel Embiid stuff no matter what format, but more power to you. He played better the last game. It is still a spot where I don't trust anything with Embiid. So, more power to your money. I hope it does well for you, but especially as a member, Fistula, but betting on guys I'm not crazy about, never going to be a thing that I like. For SGA, he's your number 2 projected guy in the slate. Have him a little bit lower than Stokastic today at 51.7. Part of that is also because of the fact that AJ Mitchell is steaming up in my projections as he was yesterday. He was a solid play yesterday, not great. But at this point, you still have the depleted Thunder lineup. As long as we don't get Caruso back in, as long as we don't get Jalen Williams back in, as long as we don't get Isaiah Joe back in, AJ Mitchell's opportunity is still pretty good. He also is closing most of games lately, including yesterday. And I think on a back-to-back as well versus a kind of shitty Sacramento team, just feels like a spot where AJ Mitchell should be able to do a little bit more on the back-to-back. I have crazy sim exposure to AJ Mitchell, much less for SGA. 12% is what the field's at. I'm getting 11. LaMelo Ball, 12.4% for the field. I'm at 15. You are taking Brandon Miller out of the equation, which maybe kills the assist upside a little bit for LaMelo, but should increase his usage. So far to start the year, LaMelo's been playing pretty well. He's had himself a 30.5% usage rate, 41.6% assist rate, and he's putting up 1.64 fantasy points per minute. So not quite in that Giannis, Wemby, Jokic tier in terms of production, but just behind that. So for LaMelo, it's tough to say it, but I do think LaMelo looks like a better play in the data relative to price point than SGA. But these guys overall, it's not a slate like yesterday where it's like so much ownership going to Wemby. You can kind of play whoever you want up top. The ownership's pretty reasonable. Giannis, I think people chase the most. LaMelo, I think a better play because of not having Miller in. And certainly as well, the total for this game at 241.5 seems like Miami's defense, not quite the Miami defense of days of yore. So for Charlotte, I think they look decent, and LaMelo Ball's a big reason why. Towns, my projections favoring him continue on into this year. Would be a little bit lower if I gave the guys the rates for this season because Jalen Brunson's getting more shots up, taking a few more possessions away. But Towns in this spot, and he's been really involved for the Knicks so far. Projected for about 33 minutes. He's averaged 1.3 fantasy points a minute on the year. He's a guy that really was helpful for me in a lot of slates last year. Not going to move away from what I've seen this year. And he did get upgraded to probable, so Towns, we don't have to sweat out too much. The injury status has been affecting him lately. Domantas Sabonis, Fields at 5, I'm getting 10. Really not an exciting play, but certainly a guy that'll play better than he did in his debut, where he put up very low usage, still rebounded okay. He is always a threat for a triple-double, and, for Sabonis, probably one way that Sacramento stays competitive today is Sabonis playing a little bit better than he would normally. For Tyrese Maxey, he's another guy that if you take this year's rates, he just looks a lot better. He's playing just shy of 40 minutes pretty much in most spots. I think actually his average on the year is still over 40. He's averaging 41.7 minutes. That said, on the back-to-back, expect it to be a little bit lower. Stokastic has him for 36.8 minutes today. But still, spot versus Washington, a team that does play at a higher pace, so 102 pace for them to start the year here, compared to Philly's normal 97.8 pace. So for Tyrese Maxey, should be a good spot for him overall. And really, his usage has been good. He's been averaging 1.36 fantasy points per minute. I think he's a strong play today at 5% ownership expected. Just doesn't come up a lot sim-wise with just the projection being where it is based on the longer-term sample size. James Harden, our 11 p.m. East Coast game today is going to be Harden involved in that one. So some swappability, I guess, if you play that. But 26% ownership expected for Harden. I'm at 22. He's priced pretty reasonably at 8,500. Harden still doing Harden stuff this year. Nothing really changing for him at 1.35 fantasy points a minute, 47% assist rate. Everything's looking good for Harden overall. He's the best fantasy player right now on the Clippers. Kawhi at 1.2 is a decent clip behind. I really have no issue with Harden. I think the price tag's not that bad here, and that's really the main thing that jumps out. And the ownership seems fair if I'm a little bit lower with my 22% compared to the field's 26. Bam Adebayo will look better if Norman Powell is out. Still, though, at 8K, a little bit too cheap. 43.3 projection for me, 41 for Stokastic. Getting him in 32% of my top 150. Fields at 29. And Jalen Brunson here, Steph Curry here, VJ Edgecombe we're going to talk about in the value stuff when I sort by that. All right, let's sort by value here. So there's your top projected guys. I won't do the same projection rate change again. Just wanted to give you guys that picture initially because I think it's an important part of NBA. Don't know why. How does feel a Zubac blowing up game? I mean, Golden State doesn't have notable big men, so sure. I don't really know. Projection-wise, doesn't look that good to me. I got him at 31.7. Stokastic has him at 35.5, which is better. He's going to be 20% played. I don't know. He seems like a guy in the slate. If you have a feel for it, never hurts to play the guy. All right, let's sort by value here. Let's sort by value here. I just click Spags projection again to sort by, and that's a mistake. So AJ Mitchell, again, I'm just getting a lot of him projection-wise right now because he's taking a meaningful leap up, and because the Thunder have so many guys that are hurt right now and not playing. There's a lot more, basically another stats that flow around overall. But I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. That guy's getting an instant ban. There's like some weird guy who like trolls me about getting married to a stripper, and it's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and it's fucking weird. People on the internet really are fucking weird. If you didn't know that, people on the internet are weird. But fuck that guy. Please don't watch my videos. You're incredibly uncomfortable to be around. AJ Mitchell, 35.9 fantasy. Like, my wife works as a creative director for an agency. She couldn't be further from a stripper, I think, though. They are creative people. More power to him. AJ Mitchell, big thing for me is that he's coming up a lot here. I think the fact that it is a back-to-back playing Sacramento, who's so bad, I think at this point, definitely the kind of player that I like to get behind a little bit early. Again, no Isaiah Joe being out there, no Caruso being out there, no Jalen Williams being out there. It's a lot of possessions that are available. AJ Mitchell is in closing groups pretty often. For him at this point, it's too much ownership at 77% for me. Field at 36, but he is a chalk play for a reason. He's not just chalky for me. The 27.5 fantasy point projection for Stokastic, you're still going to get him enough at 4,900. VG Edgecombe, our guy in the thumbnail, if you're not used to his face, I guess get used to it until Paul George comes in and ruins things again. For Edgecombe, though, playing a ton of minutes, he is also averaging 40 a game, even though it's a back-to-back. He's a young guy, so you could see him play a little bit more than expected. But at this point, for VJ Edgecombe, he paid off well enough yesterday. The ownership is pretty high, especially for the guy in the first game on the slate. Expected to be about 47% owned. I'm still getting him at 51. I think he's a less appealing play with the ownership being so high. But that said, shooting guard, small forward, he's contributing in a bunch of categories. The usage is solid enough, though it is coming down. 24% usage rate, 23% assist rate. I think he's outplayed what those numbers look like, but he's shooting well, 59% true shooting above league average. He's getting up about 7 3-pointers a game on average. Definitely inflated a little bit by the first game. The role is good for him, and I think there won't be a lot of days where Oubre goes absolutely nuts like he did yesterday. So Edgecombe should look good in the data. Cole Anthony, we had a question about him. Does Cole Anthony being back take away from Rollins in a significant way? It doesn't help Rollins out, but for Cole Anthony, he's a top value is really the main thing here, and he's really had a rate increase overall with Milwaukee this year. He's actually averaging over 1.5 fantasy points a minute, which will not last forever for Cole Anthony would be my guess, but he is putting up right now 26% usage and a 50% assist rate. Get a little bit aggressive for him. If you were to give him those rates, he would project for about 32 fantasy points. I think having him closer to about 28, 25, that range feels better. But Cole Anthony, there's a lot of opportunity to go around because you are missing Kevin Porter Jr. You're obviously still trying to fill the holes from last year with Damian Lillard, even Middleton. So for Milwaukee at this point, it's Giannis and it's Cole Anthony taking a lot of the usage on this team. And Bobby Porter's still getting some shots up. Turner, 19% usage rate. Like, these guys could certainly afford to take more, but they're not really going to do a whole lot more, you would think, based upon how they've looked for their entire careers, basically. Jaime Jaquez has played well for Miami lately. His minutes will look better if Norman Powell's out. Right now, Stokastic has for 26 minutes. As a result, he's expected to be about 21% owned. I got him at 32. For Jaime Jaquez, nice salary on him at $4,500 if he's going to play 25 plus minutes. Miami still has a lot of guys that they can go to, and there's no guarantee that Jaime Jaquez would close. But let me just look at Miami's rotation real fast here. So Jaquez last game came off the bench, played 26.7 minutes, and didn't close. He was backing up, came in for Khalil Ware, came in for Bam. So I'm not sure who you'd say he's the primary backup to. Definitely a guy where if he closes, he's going to get even more minutes. If he doesn't close, though, and he gets a few minutes that get sucked away because they want to play Fontecchio more, they want to play Drew Smith more, that's where the risk probably is for Jaime Jaquez. But he's always been a good per-minute producer, and this year he is playing well. To start the season, averaging for himself 1.1 fantasy points a minute. Definitely shooting a little bit unsustainable at 70% true shooting. I think he's not a bad play. Kind of feels to me, and not that the ceiling's going to be the same as Royce O'Neal was yesterday, kind of feels like a Royce O'Neal where the price tag works well. That's why you're getting him. But Royce O'Neal ended up going for 50 fantasy points. I don't think Jaime Jaquez necessarily has a lot of outcomes where he does that. Nikola Jokic, 37% ownership expected for him. I'm getting 27. Kind of the same thing as Jaquez. He's not really guaranteed minutes, but he did close last game over Khalil Ware. I think he's more likely to close than Jaquez, but less likely to be productive in the minutes he has out there. He's only averaging 0.9 fantasy points a minute compared to the 1.1 for Jaquez. So Jovic, he's fine if there's better value that opens up, though. I don't need to be 37% on Jovic, I don't think. Kason Wallace, another guy benefiting from the lack of Thunder players available. He looks fine to me at his $4,600 salary. Nothing really exciting about him. Trey Johnson played a little bit more last game because Keyshawn George got in foul trouble in the first quarter and the second quarter of that game, I think it was. He's still getting meaningful minutes, 28.6 minutes to projection. But I don't think Trey Johnson is another guy, like he's coming off the bench, not super likely to close or not guaranteed to close at the very least. Another value play here where you'd love to get like starter value. Instead, you're getting just a bunch of bench guys who seem like the guaranteed minutes, but may not be quite as much. John Collins played really well last year. Clippers, though, he's kind of lost in the sauce with a bunch of guys that get a bunch of shots up. Still, though, a 20% usage rate for him, 1.02 fantasy points a minute this year. And he's still shooting well like he did in Utah, 70% true shooting. John Collins, I don't mind being with the field on, but I don't think he's really that much of a quality play at this point. What is with the trolls today? like I don't know why people are so angry. Is it because like you have nothing else to do? I don't understand it. But this channel, by the way, guys, like if you're just an asshole, I'm just gonna mute you, and that's the way it goes. But that's I don't know, that's how it is. Midstream ads are new. No, they're not. It's the same ad settings it's always been. Anthony or Trent for a GPP. I would favor Cole Anthony in that one. And thank you, Polar Walsh, for being nice today. Out of all the videos to follow me up on and like start being mean to, the one yesterday I couldn't have been more right. Just didn't get Marketed and didn't get Vucevic. But my God, people, like, if you're angry, don't be mad at random people online who don't know who you are. And especially people that don't watch the videos, just go fucking take a walk, take a deep breath, guys. And it's like it's 1 week into the NBA season. How could you be this mad? Jesus Christ. Colin Sexton, guy who benefits from having Brandon Miller out. Played 33 minutes, I believe it was last game, over 30, let's just say to be safe. Nice minute projection for him again today. The usage for him has been there on Charlotte, despite, a pretty crowded rotation when Miller is out there. Sexton with 23% usage on the year, 22% assist rate, 1.1 fantasy points per minute for him as well. Did I not put on subscriber only mode? Like, I have the ability to mute a bunch of accounts, guys. You can't just keep switching to new accounts. I think you're gonna get me. My God. Colin Sexton, though, another key player on the slate that a lot of people who are coming into chat right now need to understand how DFS works. And for Colin Sexton, playing the guy who gets good minutes, one of the quality ways that we attack NBA DFS over and over again, opening up more minutes, I think at this point for Sexton at that price tag, looks pretty good. I just don't get why they're so mad. Like, I can't get having this in your heart. I know it's 2025 and there's enough things you could see online that would tell me that people just have like real issues in their lives. But like, I just don't get it. On this channel, especially, I really do a good job for NBA content. That does BFF make bail? I don't know. No way can we chase Oubre, right? I wouldn't, but certainly with Edgecombe being that highly owned, I would say that if Edgecombe is going to fail at 46.5% ownership, production probably flowed Oubre's way a little bit better. So at this point for Edgecombe, I think, again, I like Edgecombe a lot. Love that he plays a ton of minutes. Like that he's also a young guy on a back-to-back. But for Edgecombe, if he's going to be owned by a fifth of the field, you're better off, I think, playing a little bit less and taking a shot at Oubre, doing something again, or at the very least, maybe not playing Edgecombe. And again, I say that as somebody that really does like Edgecombe a lot. We're going to go game by game here because we're still going to do the work as always. And guys, show some love if you can. Again, I don't know why people are the way they are. People suck is the answer. That's true. But you guys out there have not sucked. In fact, a lot of likes in every video. I appreciate that. Yesterday, about 125 likes in a video where there was NFL as well. So shout out to you guys who are watching this video, getting value out of it, not just being assholes for the sake of it. Of course, I do the work here Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. every day. It doesn't matter what trolls come in. I still do this stuff because I'm gambling on the slate just like you guys are and trying to get better at NBA DFS, even as somebody that has won, big money before in these tournaments. Like, I still show up and try to get better as, really as best I can every day. But for all you guys, I think at this point, do the best you can in NBA, especially on these Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and, and really be mindful of the ownership because frankly, a lot of people, I think, could be let off the slaughter by small sample size stuff in NBA. I've kind of seen that coming up a little bit, and I'm trying to be mindful of it, but I pointed out, you guys like AJ Mitchell, guys like Edgecombe, it's going to be always a work in progress for NBA. Edgecombe exposure shouldn't be that high with Embiid in. Doesn't really matter to the data. I think on the main data, I do have Embiid in. He's projected to play 21.5 minutes. So Embiid really hasn't been a good fantasy player in a year and change. My data is going to show that pretty meaningfully. Would say that for how Tyrese Maxey looks at this point and has looked this year, how VJ Edgecombe has looked so far this year, even how Quentin Grimes has looked this year, he's kept about a 22% usage rate. I think for all these guys up top, they're all hurting Embiid as well because of the fact they're a lot better at this stage than Embiid looks, at this point of the year. And Zach Lowe talked about in his podcast at some length where he's expected to take time for Embiid to get, back into basketball shape, even his kind of ability to understand when to call for the ball, things like that. Would say that for how Embiid looks overall, you're not getting enough minutes to play him at 8,200. You're also not really getting enough of him being good in the time he's actually played, so you're not going to be there. For how these guys look overall, for Philadelphia, the main thing that's getting you there is that the total is incredibly high at 121.5 implied points, and it is also a pretty noteworthy pace up with how these teams have played so far this year, gaining about 4 possessions in the game. So I think that for how the Philadelphia looks, you could critique it because of Embiid being in, it's a little more cramped than it seems, and the Vegas total might be masking that. But how they've played and Embiid still being on a minutes limit, he's not going to get to 28 minutes today, most likely. He might get you to 25, and that could impede things a little bit. But it's not wrong to say, like, if Embiid's better, projections flow away from Edgecombe, because that's just how projections work. For Philadelphia, though, Edgecombe's really the only one I'm getting. Kelly Oubre, I'm getting 15% of here, and really that's not reflecting anything small sample size for this year too much. So for Oubre, does look like a decent price tag, 5,700, but that's about it. For Washington on their side, not a lot. I think that I want to prioritize personally. Keyshawn George would be the one, though, that seems like the field is chasing the most. You do have 20% ownership expected to go his way. He's had basically 2 really good games, one game where that kind of went away entirely. For how Keyshawn George has played this year, playing him 20% would be logical. How that longer-term sample size looks, though, he's not been as productive of a player. I have that 0.95 fantasy points per minute today, but he's played at a 1.4 fantasy point per minute pace. It is like a crowded rotation for Washington, so I think expecting Keyshawn George to kind of keep the usage, the rebound rate, the assist rate that he's had, not really a thing that I think you should expect to happen. But overall, for how Keyshawn George looks, like if he's going to put up 40, 6,600, he's probably paid that off. If he puts up 50 plus like he has, like then you absolutely needed to have him. But I don't think you want to be above like crazy on him just because the long-term sample size doesn't really support Keyshawn George being a crazy play. So Stokastic does have him about 3 fantasy points higher, I guess 2.5 higher than I do though. So they're giving him some kind of cosign here, so you at least get him, a little bit here. Alex Sarr has played well as well, 1.37 fantasy points to start the year. McCollum will play better at some point. Middleton, this might just be who he is at this point. There's a lot of ways that other players could start to pick up a little bit more slack, and that doesn't really get there for Alex Sarr as much, but he played well at the end of last year whenever he was actually out there, and he's playing well again to start this year, so Alex Sarr kind of definitely, seems to be rounding into form if he can keep up this pace or at least something close to it. Charlotte, 117.5 implied points here. For LaMelo, getting a decent gain because of not having Brandon Miller in. Miles Bridges also getting a little bit of an uptick in expected production because of not having Brandon Miller in. But LaMelo only getting him at 15%. Bridges getting at 26%. Sexton is the biggest play you want here, it seems like, relative to price tags. 5,400 looks pretty good, but I'm still under the field there. Only got 28% of my top 150. The field's at 35. For Charlotte, it's a nice total, and Miami's not been the defensive stalwart team that they're assumed to be. So this spot, it's surprising to see this be that high of a total for a Charlotte-Miami game, I think, relative to what these teams have been, in previous years. Nobody else in Charlotte, I think, too much in play for me besides the big three. Ryan Kalkbrenner, a little bit chalky at 16% owned. Moussa Diabate and Kalkbrenner basically sharing all the minutes, and then if there is garbage time, you do see Mason Plumlee hit the court a little bit, which is what happened the last time Charlotte played. I don't think the center position is too exciting to get to, but Kalkbrenner being disowned, maybe Moussa Diabate has a good day and you get leverage on about 20% of the field. It's a possibility. Still took the over in this one. I mean, it's a high total, but again, neither team seems defensively sound, so sure. Miami, 124 implied on their side. Really high total here as well. For Miami, you're getting Bam Adebayo, 29% ownership. I got a little bit more than that at 32. Norman Powell looks like a decent play if he goes, but he was downgraded to questionable. As we saw with Zion yesterday, it's not always going to be the case, but a downgrade midday, never really a good thing. If Norman Powell were out, you will get Drew Smith looking even better. You'll get Jovic, Jaquez. Really, all the guys will look better because Norman Powell's been absorbing a decent amount of assists. Overall, 1.35 fantasy points a minute for Norman Powell to start the year. He's been doing more than just scoring lately. I think that for Miami in the spot, right now, they're really chalky. Guys like Jovic going to be really highly owned. Guys like, what is this? I don't get why the trolls are really like coming out today, but like, you're getting spammed immediately if you put in the same thing 100 times. And also, what am I a fraud about? I've never once misrepresented anything in content in my life. Out of all the things to critique me on, that's not it. Chet out. Oh, cool. Well, that's going to make more AJ Mitchell, I think. Also, thank you, everybody. Is Chet out? I guess I'll take this kind of chat repeating than the other ones. Yeah, Chet being out, maybe SGA also going to be out now at this point on the back-to-back. Everybody looks better, though. I think is really the main thing. You get more guaranteed minutes for Hartenstein. Jalen Williams now meaningfully in the mix. You'll get guys like Brooks Barnhizer playing more, I guess. But Chet's going to leave out some real production, so that's that. Oh, Caruso not on the injury report? Okay. Well, that's going to move around OKC. Whatever. We'll get there when we get there. Oh, thank you. Is Chet out? I appreciate that. Oh, Isaiah Joe is out too. That's remaining the same. Please give me all of it. I appreciate you guys telling me. It's important to know that Chet's out. For Miami, though, if Powell goes out, everybody looks better. As it is right now, they look good enough. And Jovic, pretty chalky at 37% owned. Not really sure why he's getting that much, but the price tag at 4,100 is not bad. New York, Karl-Anthony Towns, another player here that looks pretty good, 31% ownership. Fields at 26. Again, a guy for me last year. He projected well every slate. A lot of times he was under-owned. Today he seems more than appropriately owned with a quarter of the field being there, but I'll be above because he just projects better for me at a 46.8 projection compared to 44.1. Jalen Brunson, not really a priority play for me, but he does look better with how he's shooting this year. The usage has been up, 32% assist rate, 32% usage rate, 35% assist rate, averaging 1.29 fantasy points a minute. As has been the case for the Knicks going back to last year, it really is mostly a Towns Brunson team, and then sometimes Anunoby, Bridges, Hart will spike. But for Hart, playing off the bench, a little bit harder for him to do that. For Anunoby and Bridges, like they're just not getting more usage this year than they have before. A 20% usage rate for Anunoby, 14 and change for Bridges. These guys are okay plays, but Towns and Brunson, I think, are really the ones you'd want against a Milwaukee team that also defensively used to be good, not so much, or not as good anymore. Milwaukee, Giannis, 18% ownership and change. I got him at 17. Again, if you look at this year's rate data, you're going to be a little bit more interested to that one. For these guys, besides Giannis, Ryan Rollins, I'm getting a little bit of. Cole Anthony, he's playing really well off the bench. He's always been a guy where if you just give him opportunity to get shots up, he does produce in fantasy. The Bucks now, he's their sixth man, starting the offense off the bench. And you need offense for this team because with no Kevin Porter Jr. out there, they just got nothing besides Giannis, space that can create offense. Kyle Kuzma is absolutely awful at this point. 18% usage. Fantasy production's been a little bit better because he's hitting his shots, but that's that. Besides that, for Milwaukee, Cole Anthony, the most appealing ownership-wise for me right now. But the other guys here not looking that bad. Oh, no, Jaden didn't play week 5. That's true. That's what, if you're going to get me with things, get me with that. At least that's rooted in reality. Sacramento, 108.5 implied points. He didn't play this week either and fucking did not help out. 108.5 implied for Sacramento. Nobody coming up too much for me here. 10% Domantas bonus. That's 2x the field. My projection for him at 45.5. He really played awful to start. His first game here, only 0.96 fantasy points a minute. And you got a lot of guys that love to get shots up here. 5 players, over 20% usage with Schroeder, Westbrook added to the rotation where you have Monk, Levine, and DeRozan. Sabonis might be the one who defers a little bit too much in this offense overall. But, now we're taking out some guys for OKC. The game gets more competitive. Certainly wouldn't mind playing Sabonis a little bit here. And really, Schroeder, Westbrook, not too far off of being plays. DeRozan and Levine don't look projected too well, but if they hang in versus OKC, you could see some King guys make it, and they're really not well projected for no matter what data source you're going to use. OKC, 119 implied points on their side. You can just throw the projections out the window for the most part here because of Chet being out. That said, you should get more minutes for Wiggins, should get more minutes for Jalen Williams. Who starts here is an important one to watch out for. Don't think it would be Jalen Williams because he'll be the backup big. Could be Barnhizer. He's been pretty useless, though. Only 0.31 fantasy points per minute. Probably Wiggins would be my guess. But either way, important one to watch out for. I just can't really give you more details now because I don't know. It's only going to make AJ Mitchell project better for me, though, unfortunately, because Holmgren leaves behind a bunch of points and opportunities overall. SGA will come up a little bit. Really, everybody's going to come up here because Chet has a meaningful role that's been averaging 1.26 fantasy points per minute. Clippers, your last game on the slate. A lot of ownership coming for Harden, Kawhi. 26% expected for Harden, 35% for Kawhi, 20% for Zubac, 24% for Collins. These guys all look like decent plays. To me, though, low on pretty much all of them, which I'm fine with. I'm not going to get 0, but I don't think they're priority plays like the ownership seems to be dictating, and how OKC moves things around. Definitely be something to watch for plays that I don't think look super strong here. But Collins has been great going back to last year. Utah, I think, underused him in part because they were trying to lose so much. But he's a guy now for the Clippers. You got a lot of guys getting shots up. He's still playing pretty well at 1.02 fantasy points per minute. Brook Lopez off the bench. Nothing really to love there. Think that for the Clippers at this point, I'm kind of baffled by how much ownership they have, but they look fine. And Golden State on their side, Jonathan Kuminga, 17% sim ownership for me. Fields at 15. That's really the only stand I have here. It's another team where Kuminga and Draymond, if you just look at what they did for 2025, they would look a lot better. As it is right now, Kuminga comes up a little bit. Draymond comes up a little bit. Steph Curry, competitive spot versus the Clippers. Maybe that is a game where he gets going at 4% ownership. But really the biggest thing to note in this game is that no Bradley Beal, I guess, opens up the Clippers' usage enough that these guys seem like important plays. Let's go to Stokastic next, see what the sim has for us over there. All right. Chris Dunn for value. Not bad value, but with the OKC options opening up more, I don't know. There's better values on the slate, in my opinion. But Dunn's going to get more minutes. You take out Bradley Beal, even for as much of a shell as he already is. Let's see. I mean, last game, we had no Beal. Dunn got 22 minutes. Harden 38. Bogdanovich, definitely the most fragile. He does suck. But he is pals with James Harden. They go to clubs together. That could help. Hey, let's keep building out the sim here. And again, you saw what my data has. Let's see what Stokastic data has without any interference from me. It looks like we got an update as well pretty recently, so that's going to be nice to see. Guys, show some love if you can, though. Again, I'm still showing up and doing the work here, no matter whatever weirdos are going to come into the chat. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Just do the best I can every day here to show you guys the stuff I'm gambling on. And for me, as much as it is for you guys, it's not about what you're putting in every night, especially when you've actually won money at this and took that out and bought a house with it. It's just about trying to make the most of whatever you're gambling on, whether you're putting in the quarter arcade, more power to you. If you're trying to put entries in the max tournaments, the highest dollar tournaments rather, I'm still here for you no matter what. So that's what I think gambling should be. But yeah, anyway, still here doing the NBA work, of course. Later today we'll be on Stokastic. All these guys, all the trolls, you can join me on there as well. 5 p.m. doing the deeper dive today, which will be a Tuesday regular thing, it looks like, with my pal Josh Engelman. So tune in for that. And that's it. You're not weird, honest. I mean, you got to trust me, I guess, on that one. You're a weirdo. There we go. Somebody's a weirdo. You could be a weirdo and be nice. You could be the losers club in it, and that's cool. But don't be an angry on the internet weirdo. I've had enough of that in my career. It doesn't roll off my back because it makes me sad. But more power to you guys out there when you are a good weirdo. Let's click our top 150 lineups here. We'll put on sub uniques and see how it looks. But your top ROI lineups are now according to Stokastic data, so a site that has helped win people a lot of money here. So if you don't want to listen to me, you can listen to just these top lineups here the sim is giving you. AJ Mitchell, Cole Anthony, Jaime Jaquez, very similar players to what would have expected based on the data we talked about. Giannis makes this one. Towns makes this one, so Stokastic with me on the Towns train today. Chris Dunn makes it. John Collins makes it. Ivica Zubac makes it. So Zubac, not a sneaky play here because he's in your top ROI lineup according to Stokastic data. Number 2 is CJ McCollum, Trey Johnson. We got 2 Wizards up top. Jaime Jaquez again, Giannis again. Khalil Ware makes this. AJ Mitchell makes it. Kawhi Leonard, Ryan Rollins. Okay. Number 3, AJ Mitchell again. Drew Smith makes this one. So again, all the plays that you sometimes think are sneaky, the sim will show you right away. No, in fact, they are not as sneaky as you might have thought. Andrew Wiggins, Kawhi Leonard, Bam Adebayo, and this is still with Norman Powell in the projection set, I believe. SGA, Jaime Jaquez, and Ryan Kalkbrenner makes this one. Number 4 is Drew Smith. VJ Edgecombe finally makes one. Kawhi makes this. Nikola Jovic, Bam Adebayo, Chris Dunn again, John Collins again, and Giannis again. And at number 5, it's an SGA lineup. Drew Smith again. Keyshawn George makes this one. Miles Bridges. Khalil Ware again. Chris Dunn again. Cat again. And Kalkbrenner again. Definitely a somewhat concerted effort to get to a few guys there up top. And thank you for the kind chats, guys. I appreciate it. It's, just ultimately all you can do is show up at this stuff and hope that good things happen, I guess. Today's just not one of those days. But I appreciate the kindness from the people that actually matter in the chat, as opposed to the trolls that need something to do at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. Drew Smith, negative 0.2% ROI. He's technically your top ROI player in the slate, and don't worry about the negative numbers. Main thing you're trying to take away is the directional accuracy of the sim and what it's giving you. And Drew Smith, technically your top ROI player on this 5-game slate. Number 2 is Khalil Ware. So again, with Norman Powell in the projection set, yeah, he's still here. Has a negative ROI for himself. If Powell comes out, these Heat guys probably come up even more. And Stokastic already liking Drew Smith and Khalil Ware as your top options on the slate. Trey Johnson, negative 6% ROI for him. He's number 3. Chris Dunn at number 4. And Giannis, despite the probably high ownership coming his way, he's number 5 ROI guy. Overall exposures, and this is with 3 uniques on to try to flatten it out a little bit. You'd probably expect the top exposed players to be even higher owned if we had less uniques on it. Jaime Jaquez, 63% expected exposure here, or exposure that Stokastic's given you in their top 150. Fields expected to own him at 37%. So a massive stand in favor of Jaime Jaquez, and that is with Powell in the data set. Kawhi Leonard, 48% exposure. Fields at 31. Kawhi coming up a lot here. No Beal, which has been the case enough already. I guess it's not really impacting too much here. Kawhi coming up a lot for whatever reason for the Clippers. Bam Adebayo, 43% exposure. Fields at 45. Not a super exciting play, but Charlotte's center situation seems as bad as it's ever been. And Bam Adebayo, certainly a key rotational piece for the Heat, who might be down at least one guy today if Powell doesn't play. And even if Powell, does play, he's already in the data set, and we're still getting Bam Adebayo a good amount. Chris Dunn, 41% exposure in Stokastic's top 150, Fields at 19. So, and to be liking Chris Dunn, Stokastic's top 150 lineups in the sim seem to be right with you. And Giannis, 39% exposure, Fields at 18. Big stand in favor of Giannis, who is your top projected guy in the slate. Though how Chet Holmgren being unavailable affects things, I think we'll have to see here because he is still in the data set as well. Overall, highest leverage guys before we try to build a single lineup sim. Jaime Jaquez, 25.5% leverage, more than the Fields. Expected 37% ownership, so that's a lot of Jaime Jaquez today. Drew Smith, 22.5% leverage. Not a sneaky play at all. $3,300 salary is getting him to a lot of lineups. Chris Dunn, same thing. $3,500 salary, point guard, shooting guard. He's in 22% more lineups than the Fields expected to have. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 21% leverage for him. We just talked about him and really have talked about him all video. And Khalil Ware, 19% more than the Field. Didn't close last game for Miami because Jovic did. Where was that popcorn machine? This one over here. Jovic basically played from the entire fourth quarter, from 4 minutes and then the entire fourth quarter. But basically, Khalil Ware came in briefly here and said they kept Jovic out there. So maybe a little bit of an inverse correlation there between those two guys, but a lot of Khalil Ware coming up. Your most negative leverage plays in Stokastic's top 150. Colin Sexton, he's expected to be owned by about half the field now in the updated data. They have negative 34% leverage. So big anti-stand in Colin Sexton. My data liked him. So sorry, switching back to the tab. My data liked him. So I'll still defer to what I have, but it does seem like Stokastic. Not a big fan of Sexton today. VJ Edgecombe, 11% less than the Field. He's still in about a third of the top 150 lineups, but less than the Field's 45% ownership. Norman Powell, you're not playing him that much, and you'll play him even less if he doesn't play today. Negative 9% leverage for him currently with him still in the data set. Tyrese Maxey, 8% less than the Field, again, deferring to that longer-term sample size where he just doesn't look quite as good. That said, Maxey's gone nuts in pretty much every game so far, so if you want to chase that, you certainly could. And Alex Sarr, negative 7% leverage for him, only 1% exposure. The Field at 8. So a lot of fading of the guys who've been good to start the year, it seems like. And for Sexton, I'm surprised they're this low on him because it does seem like the minutes should be secure. He could lose some to Trey Mann, I guess, theoretically, but the fact that he played 33 minutes without Miller last time out seems like Sexton's role is somewhat secured, but who knows? Let's run a single lineup sim here, and I appreciate the kind chats again. You guys are here every day. You're the ones I care about getting value out of the show. So again, please do show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe. I know I get distracted by trolls more than I should, but ultimately it's because I'm just a human being here. And really for me, a lot of the stuff is just showing up and being vulnerable, showing you my data, talking about process, talking about things going good, going bad. So ultimately that's what you're going to get from me. I'm just gambling on slates like you guys are. And people that, I don't know, want to get worked up about stuff, they get worked up somewhere else. So ultimately, I think all we can do in life. Let's build a lineup here. Thoughts on Huck Porty if Yabu's out? No, I don't really think so. He might come up a little bit more, but not a super exciting play. I think no matter what, you would need Towns and somebody else out. I think at that point to you need all the bigs out for Huck Porty to look even decent. And even then, I just expect more production for Anunoby, for Hart, for everybody else there. I don't need to name all the names. Here every day. I appreciate that. Appreciate all you guys who are. And even if you're not here every day, I know people just watch the Wednesday video, assuming it's another $5 tournament on DraftKings, will get a lot of views again tomorrow. It's fine. It's just don't be a shithead when I don't know who you are, especially. That's just odd. But let's build this lineup out. Can we get a vulnerable puppet today? Here's the puppet being vulnerable. Here's his asshole. You can put what you can put whatever you want in there. He's totally vulnerable. It's okay, just take my shirt off. Yeah, that'll solve everything. I'll just get more trolls then. They'll make fun of my man breasts jiggling about on stream. All right, point guard, what do we want to put in first here? I mean, look, based on my data, and again, I'm trying to build it. Built a really nice lineup on stream yesterday, just kind of following what I would do normally off my projections. I'm going to go AJ Mitchell, first guy in. Have him about 10 fantasy points higher than Stokastic, which does not feel good. That said, for AJ Mitchell, back-to-back spot, guy who is, closing games pretty meaningfully lately. I think that for AJ Mitchell, I feel good about him, and having Chet Holmgren out is not going to spook me off of that even a little bit. Shooting guard, I think I'm just going to stick with the chalk for now. Go VJ Edgecombe. These are just guys that project really well for me, so we're trying to build a lineup that reflects my data, and I would say Edgecombe is part of that data right now. Jaquez, unfortunately, is one of those guys, too. I do feel like Miami's minutes can flow away, but if Powell's out, that play gets a lot easier, and even chalkier for sure for Jaime Jaquez. Power forward. Maybe just jam Giannis in here and know the Sim's going to like him. Let's do that. We're going to jam Giannis in. Going to jam Towns in. We'll see what we could do here for our last few spots. Going to have to get some value. Cole Anthony, I'll take the shot on again. Again, not really making brave plays. This lineup could be chalky, but I think we've got some pieces that are not crazily highly owned. I think by being less than the Clippers today, I am not going to be super chalky. Keyshawn George, I like as a play, but I think he's too expensive for this lineup now. Who else do I have? The Sim doesn't like Sexton. My data does like Sexton. Let me give it Jovic. Another player here, I think Jovic and Jaquez feels like they're potentially competing for the same swath of minutes, even though they play different positions and all that. Getting Powell out, though, would be harder for these guys to not see the field at that point, or see the court at this point. Football brain, never going to go away. 5K left for one more spot in utility. Khalil Ware is here. That price tag does work. But if Jovic plays and closes, Khalil Ware would probably not. So I don't think those guys being in the same lineup is a good idea. I'll go Trey Johnson here. I feel like maybe the high usage guards for Philadelphia could get Keyshawn George in foul trouble again, which is what killed his upside the last game he played. So let's see what we get here. All right, 39% positive ROI. I could live with that. The final team here, AJ Mitchell, VJ Edgecombe, Jaime Jaquez. Giannis makes it as well. My boy Cat at center. Cole Anthony, who's been killing it off the bench. Hopefully we'll do it one more day here. Probably won't be as good, though, as he's been this year with 1.5 fantasy points a minute. That's unsustainable for a guy like Cole Anthony. Nikola Jovic is our forward. Trey Johnson rounds it out. A few too many bench guys, I think, with Jaquez, Jovic, and Trey Johnson. AJ Mitchell's a bench guy, too, but I think the minutes should get better for him. And they have been good enough as it is. But I can live with that team here. So that's it for today, guys. I appreciate all your guys' support, especially those of you who are kind here on the channel. I'm going to do guys my splash plays for the day here, but before I do that, one last run through plugs. Number one, please subscribe, hit the like button here. In particular, you guys have been really showing up, hitting that like button, and it's a big thing for me. I've been able to fight off that YouTube algorithm and try to keep growing the channel, even though, frankly, channel growth means I get more people who are just shitty for no reason in, but I'll still keep doing the best I can, whether the channel grows, whether it shrinks, whether it hops into cold water and comes out shrunk. I will still do the best I can here every day. That's my promise to you guys who do show up and actually know what we're doing on the channel. Of course, check out Stokastic too. 15% off, link down below. So hopefully that adds some value to you guys. It is a deal that it gets you that money off in perpetuity, and half the money you pay to Stokastic comes back to me, so it's a big way I'm able to afford the show. Right now, we're in the midst of one of my best affiliate months ever, so would love to keep that going here through the cold months of winter because the work here, especially dealing with trolls, I I need the encouragement. And join the Discord as well if you want access to my data here. You get it for fairly cheap relative to a lot of projection providers. My data is updated Monday to Saturday every week, not on Sundays. I'm busy doing NFL stuff and not playing those slates. But every day I'm doing content. Every day I'm playing an NBA slate. I do update things throughout the night as well as needed too. And of course, you can just join the Discord for $5, get in there and be around like-minded people who are just trying to have a good time at gambling. And that's what I try to do for myself. Splash plays of the day. Unfortunately, AJ Mitchell, yet again, he didn't kill you yesterday. He didn't make you a lot of money yesterday, but I do think the role gets better. Chet Holmgren being out kind of helps out everything that's left behind now for OKC. I don't love being on super chalky VJ Edgecombe, but he is projection-wise another top play for me today. I'll be there to some extent. I'll be at least with the field on it, I would think, and potentially a little bit above. See what we get opening up on the slate. I'm still willing to play Colin Sexton. Sim not liking him didn't make you feel great. Jaime Jaquez, same thing. Cole Anthony, same thing. Jovic, same thing. And I think that's the main ones. And pay up options, Cat. Cat's always been one of my guys. He is one of those guys, again, for me right now. So that's how it looks to me at this point. But I will be on Stokastic's deeper dive later today. So that's at 5 p.m. So if you want to see how my things update here when we get some new minutes in for OKC, I'll have that data for you guys coming up at 5 p.m. on Stokastic's channel. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow here at 2 p.m. Shouts to all you guys hanging out here, especially guys being a functional part of the community and not just being angry for whatever reason. Make sure to always gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is money time on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags, on the channel at SplashPlayBets, or on Twitter at SplashPlayPod. And I'll be back again on the deeper dive at 5 p.m. So I'll see you guys there. Enjoy your days and good luck. And even if you are one of the trolls. All right, bye, guys.